Hey, the music's on, and it means, yes, it is. It's time for another episode of Three Guys Before the Game. Thanks so very much for being with us. Our summer series continues. We flash back to one of the all-time iconic names in Mountaineer football history. Special place for this guy and our guest, Kevin White. The first Kevin White. Like if he were a Coca-Cola product, he'd be Kevin White Classic.
He's
right?
classic for sure.
He'd be Kevin White Classic. He wouldn't be
and look, one of the all-time greats that doesn't always rise to the top of the conversation because it was just 1 year, but still one of the greats.
I would say this. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if you really, truly know, like if you know, then you just like say, no.
Well, I know.
That you do know. But I think some people may not get that part of it. We'll get into that with Kevin White coming up. Three Guys Before the Game brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. Got a super special deal we'll tell you about later. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales, St. Albans. What do? They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by our friends at Go-Mart. If you're one of those that are watching and not listening, you see that they have dumped the Reese's love on us. We love Reese's. You love Reese's. Everyone loves Reese's. Go-Mart, along with Reese's, having some fantastic deals. Visit them at GoMart.com.
I'm hitting some of that during the show, by the way. I'm reaching over and I'm eating something there.
Full disclosure, since it arrived last week, I've been hitting it off my desk a lot.
Yeah, there was more than
There's
this.
Less there than...
Yeah.
Anyway.
He and Tyler Consolidated Kennedy have eaten 3/4 of it.
Yeah, it was a lot there.
All right, so let's jump in.
By the way, real quick, that should be the name of the episode. You know how you said if you know, you know?
Yeah.
You know how the kids abbreviate that now? IYKYK. If you know, you know.
I didn't know they did
Oh, really?
Yeah, that should be the name of the episode.
Probably just go with Kevin White visits. Anyway, let's bring in Kevin White.
See why you don't suggest things to him, Kirchhoff?
Judge, top of the
See why I
day to
always say
you.
that?
Thanks
Can't
so
do
very
it.
much for being with us.
Good morning. Good morning. If I would have known you guys were going to be so kind, I would have had my wife and kids listen.
Well, well, they'll be able to watch it.
Iconic is not the word I associate with my time at WVU. But
I would.
Yeah, I would say here's why. Here's why I say that, Kevin. Because we recently had a recent Mountaineer, but named Gary Jennings on, who played wide receiver. He caught the touchdown pass, if you remember, Texas a few years ago, ran out of the back of the end zone. Then they went and did the whole thing and won. So he is the story of perseverance because he just, since he left, would not refuse not to be able to continue playing professionally. And I think it was 20-plus transactions that he's gone through and then played in the XFL this spring and now has just signed a contract with Carolina. So he's the story of perseverance. Your story of perseverance isn't that professional side of it, but your story of perseverance is you waited 1, 2, 3, 4, and your fifth year, you become the starter. And then in that 1 year, you put together, orchestrated one of the great seasons in Mountaineer history in that you engineered the victories over Syracuse, Boston College, and Pitt and BC. I said Syracuse, Boston College, and Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt, all in that same season.
Yeah, Penn State too.
And Penn State,
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, Penn State. And so that's why I think you're iconic. Is that a fair statement, Hoppy?
Yeah, and then winning the bowl game in dramatic fashion when TCU was favored and was for years. It was the last time West Virginia won a bowl game.
It was.
But see, White he's a judge now, has been a judge for years in Phoenix, so he's used to everybody being mad at him. So when we say nice things,
He doesn't know how to
he
handle this.
doesn't know how to handle that.
Fair or not, Kevin? I mean, he looks judicial. Don't you think he looks judicial?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he looks judicial.
oh, good.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
So let's jump in here. So for those that don't know, you're in Arizona, and that's where you came from, right? You were in Arizona as you came to WVU. Give us an update, if you would, on how things are going right now? We called you judge. You are an acting judge as we speak. What's your world like right now?
Well, you hit me at a transformational time. I announced about 10 days ago that I'm retiring for 21 years on the bench, effective June 28.
Wow.
Breaking news.
And I'll be leaving the bench after a nice run there and moving on to other things.
Outstanding.
Oh.
21 years on the bench.
Wow. What are you going to do?
Well, I know you and the West Virginia folks can keep this a secret. And I know nobody will say this and jinx me, but this is going to sound probably kind of odd to you. But I'm going to make a big transition here. I'm going to go into the education world and the coaching world. And I have applied in my two positions. One is the head coach of the first ever Casa Grande Union High School girls flag football team.
How about that?
There you go.
On Tuesday, my understanding is the superintendent of schools will be recommending to the board that they accept his recommendation and hire me in that position. And then I have another position at the school where I am going to get to work with at-risk kids, trying to make sure that they don't fail out and they succeed. And that will fit nicely with my fairly extensive history dealing with juvenile delinquency and juvenile dependency matters as a judge. So I'm very excited about the transition.
Wow, that's some
is.
good stuff right there. Are you 60, 61 right now, Kevin?
60.
60. Yeah, bingo.
Don't say 61. I'm
No,
60.
no, I hear you. No, I'm in your world. I completely understand what you're saying. So listen, as just in honor of Don Nealon, his first play call that he runs in the flag football league, going to be a draw.
I
might have to give Coach Neal a call to see if he can take a suggestion.
I tell you what, there was a lot of different calls in that Bluebonnet Bowl. Were no draws up in there. There might have been. Well, there might have been a draw, but I think there was a fake punt.
Yeah, there was. There was
fake punt to Wolfley.
Yeah, we looked at the box score on that, and someone unconventional. And you might remember this, Kevin. One of the receivers, I think, threw a touchdown pass, if I'm not mistaken.
Gary Mullen.
Yeah.
Gary Mullen got a touchdown and threw a touchdown.
Yeah, Blue Mullen. So when you look back on that, Kevin, 1984 now, and that fantastic season. So we're closing in on 40 years. Does that seem like 40 years, or does that seem more recent?
Well, I watch the highlight film almost every night, so both. It's kind of an odd paradox there. In some ways, it seems like it was so long ago. On the other hand, some of those memories are so vivid. It seems like it was just the other day. It was really a storybook season, and good stories have downtime and positive times, and certainly that season had both for me. And it was just an incredible life experience.
You know, Kevin, and we'll talk more about the season, but you had the wins against Pitt, Penn State, Boston College, and then lost to the juggernauts, Rutgers and Temple. But we'll move on beyond that. But in that,
well, hold on. I want to defend that when I get my time here.
Okay, we'll do that.
I don't know why you got to attack them, Hoppy. They got injured. They were all banged up.
They
Go
were
ahead,
banged
Kevin.
up. But going to the Bluebonnet Bowl, and I was there. 31-14 was the final, and you all jumped out. I mean, you had a great plan. I want you to talk about the plan because you came out throwing. You had Willie Drew, you had Blue Mullen. I think Rich Hollins was on that team. I mean, just you came out passing, throwing the ball. It was exciting. What was the plan there? What did you all see?
You know, I kind of had a sense that there was a change in offensive philosophy going in, but I really didn't expect to be throwing that much. And everything clicked in that first half was just darn near perfect. And I'll always remember before the game, you always hope to get in that zone, they call it, where you're just performing and not thinking. And I didn't feel it. And I was commenting, I think, to Tony in the backup, I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. And then as we were in the coming out on the field, that button was pushed and things clicked. And I said, I feel it. and it's just that overwhelming confidence comes and goes with that. And it was with me there, especially the first half.
Kenneth Davis play on that TCU team?
Yes, he did.
For a short
I'm
period
kidding
of time.
because
in that game,
it's Kevin White and Kenneth Davis are the two most popular names out of that game, right? We say it all the time.
And Kenneth Davis got taken out, injured his leg, and I think the way that West Virginia played that day, they probably still win that game, even though not having Kenneth Davis out there running the ball for TCU certainly helped.
Kevin, that's as good of a stretch. Tony mentioned that earlier. The 4-game winning streak there at Pitt, Syracuse, over BC with Flutie, then Penn State. That's as good a run as any Mountaineer team has had, right? Save for maybe the undefeated seasons. What do you remember about that particular stretch? That had to be unusually fun for you, right? You guys were really rolling at that time.
I said storybook, and I really mean it. My parents had never been to a game at West Virginia University before. They'd been to bowl games, but not to a game there. And before the Boston College game, they flew out with my aunt and uncle, my brother, and they got to see both the Boston College game and the Penn State game. In fact, my mother ran down Joe Paterno after the game somehow and was able to make contact with Joe Paterno to let him know that she was Kevin White's mom. That's probably the last thing he wanted to talk about. But in any event, it was just, it would have been great in any respect. But with your parents there, your brother there, your aunt there, it was unbelievable. When you're a kid, you always dream of having some event in your sports career that is just at the pinnacle. And to tell you the truth, there was a lot of struggling, not just in those first 3 years at West Virginia, but through high school. I played on a very successful school team, and I had never really reached that pinnacle moment until that time. And boy, was it just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's hard to equal it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. You mentioned that team as a whole. So I'd love for you to take us into what your perception was of that team's chemistry, because to do what you guys did, you have to have this special togetherness in chemistry. What are your reflections about the non-tangible togetherness of that team?
Maybe it's telling that was really the first team that was virtually all Don Nehlen recruited people.
Yeah.
We had all been together, very tight-knit group, seniors dominated, playing on the team. The offensive line was solid, very, very, probably the best offensive line that West Virginia had during my time there. That's a safe thing to say. I was playing with the receiving corps that I played with as a freshman, Willie Drury, Wayne Brown, Gary Mullen. We came in together and we went together with a big name Bluebonnet Bowl. Defense, as always, a great Don Nehlen teams, physical and tough as nails. Not a team dominated by stars, but not a whole lot of talent. Brian Joswiak, special talent, drafted in the first round. Ron Wolfley, my Arizona comrade, was underappreciated player, obviously, what he did in the NFL after leaving West Virginia, but he was a force on the field, a great leader for the team.
Yeah, no question about that. And when you think about the style of play that you used and the style of play of that day, and you mentioned Ron, he was the focal point of a power running football team. He was a isolation, blow up the linebacker, fullback to make the hole. We're kind of sort of getting back to that a little bit nowadays since the spread, but that was old school hard football.
It was 3 yards, don't turn the ball over, don't give up the big play. Special teams was critical. Don Nehlen preach that the punt is our most important play of the game. Because of the field position battle. And in that style of football is absolutely true. And that formula worked very well. And I do see it starting to come back. It's kind of ironic. My son playing college football now. And when I watch his team play, it looks like West Virginia 1984. And they're doing very, very well with that style against the spread.
Yeah.
We just aren't, the defenses aren't really ready to deal with that.
You know, look at some of these other names on that defense. David Grant, Brad Hunt, Jeff Lucas, Derek Christian, Freddie Smalls, Matt Smith, Wes Turner, Scott Dixon, Dave Preston, Cam Zopp, Whitey Daniels. There are a lot of players, Brad. There are a lot of players on that team, on that defense.
No. It was a special group, very, very special group. And they were the key probably to how successful that season was. Quite frankly, I was a game manager quarterback. We played not to turn the ball over. We played field position football, and didn't make mistakes, and that's how we won.
How did you end up at West Virginia? I know that recruiting connection to Arizona is not very common. How did you end up here?
You know, that's a great story too. As I alluded to earlier, I was not a high school star by any means, and my high school was bad. There's just no other way to describe it. But my high school coach was from Pennsylvania. John Cashner is his name. I owe much of the things I've done in my life to him. He was from Pennsylvania. He coached there, and he knew Coach Krlavich and several other coaches on the eastern side of the country. And on his Christmas break, my senior year, with nobody really recruiting me, that guy went from school to school on his vacation, showing my film and telling his lies and exaggerations about my 93-mile-an-hour fastball and my 4.54 and things like that. And West Virginia was interested, but they had 3 quarterbacks ahead of me. I had an offer from Villanova. They wanted me to be a wishbone quarterback, which probably explains why the program was dropped shortly thereafter. Lehigh looked to be the school I was going to. I had a visit scheduled, and then signing date came, and those 3 quarterbacks West Virginia had ahead of me all said no. And I got a late phone call saying, "Hey, we love you now. Come on out." So I flew out, totally unexpected, and met Coach Nealon, got a scholarship offer, and jumped on it for the chance to play that schedule and that place.
And those are amazing stories when you think about it, because it literally changed your life, right? I mean, one phone call changes your entire direction of your life.
Tony, I thought I was pulling off the greatest scam in the history of the world, because you're talking about a guy who could not break 1,000 yards in a season in high school football. I mean, I knew I could throw, but it had never produced into numbers or victories. And I showed up at West Virginia expecting to be totally outclassed, and my high school coach to be called fraud. And lo and behold, I got there and had a tough as nails coach, Gary Tranquil, you probably remember.
Yeah, sure.
And he was an outstanding coach. He was brutal. It was not easy, but it took me about 3 or 4 weeks before it clicked. But when it clicked, it really clicked. And suddenly I went from being a fumbling, bumbling freshman to a pretty good freshman. And by the 3rd game, I was in playing. So.
Yeah.
Threw a touchdown in the first game.
Let's talk Coach Nealon here for a second, because you mentioned that 84 season. It's made up of guys that were entirely his recruiting class. So when we sit here today and we say to you, Coach Nealon, what pops in your head? What memory, what do you walk away thinking about Coach Nealon?
You know, he carries the label coach, but I view him as one of the great teachers in my life. I mean, I'm not talking just football. I'm talking life and how to succeed and how to prepare and how to win and how to lose too, and how to deal with adversity and keep coming back. I had never been around anybody like him, and he ran a very tight ship, and it was very impressive to watch how we prepared in the off season, in the season. And what a machine it was like. It just really transformed my view about what you have to do to be successful They taught incessantly. Football games, more than not, aren't won by some big play. They're won by lots of little tiny things you do during the course of the game that makes a difference. Ultimately, who wins or who loses. It's not just the big things; it's the little things that matter. And that was stressed and carried me forever. And to what I do as a judge, it's instrumental in the work I do as a judge. The preparation that went in to preparing for a game, the mindset. That's been part of who I am my whole legal career as a judge. And just watching those coaches, the time they put in. I don't know that people realize the amount of time coaches spend. They're in the office before 6 a.m., sometimes before 5 a.m., and they don't till 11 o'clock or midnight.
All right.
And that point wasn't lost on me either. And whatever you want to say about me as a judge, I feel pretty comfortable saying I was usually one of the first ones in the morning and usually one of the last ones out at night. And I think whatever success I've had has been because of the lessons I learned about preparation, hard work, and putting the time in.
So you got here and you started feeling comfortable and you think, okay, I belong here and I'm going to play football here. And then a guy who's probably nobody's heard of, Jeff Hostetler, came in, transferred in from Penn State, started 2 years ahead of you. How did you handle that? What did you think when Haas came in and played for 2 years ahead of you?
Well, I'll step back a little bit. So on my recruiting trip there with Coach Nealon, he was telling me about the quarterback situation. And of course, Oliver Luck was the quarterback, and he was going to be the starting quarterback, no doubt. And then Coach Nealon said, we're talking to this quarterback at Penn State who's talking about coming here. We think he's going to play linebacker. And so I signed happily and would do it again if I had the choice. But it was funny in the Arizona Republic, the article, this is in the Arizona newspaper in Phoenix, was headline West Virginia, Jeff Hostetler transfers to West Virginia. And then down in the bottom paragraph, they mentioned they also signed some little kid from Casa Grande too. I had heard of Jeff. I'd actually watched his team play in the Fiesta Bowl the year before. So I knew that he was formidable. And then I met the guy and I was like, oh my gosh, this is David and Goliath here. He's a Greek god and I'm a little skinny freckle-faced kid.
Kevin, I think nowadays I wonder out loud, how this transfer portal's working and the number of kids that are just constantly moving. If there were a transfer portal and you knew you didn't have to sit out a year because you had to wait your turn, do you think you would have portaled out, or were you so content that you were here that you would have said, I'm going to wait?
Yeah, I think it's within the realm of possibility. I mean, that temptation would have been there. That wasn't the case back then. You can't really go back in time and make a judgment. But I wanted to play like everybody else, and if there would have been opportunities where I thought I could go and play right off the bat, I certainly would have thought about it. But I wasn't complaining about the experience I had. I mean, I came in with really no expectations about what West Virginia football was going to be like, and was quickly made aware that it's a very, very special thing. And that was a very, very special season as well that ended with a big bowl win in the Peach Bowl over Florida. And so it would have been very, very difficult to leave such a great setting with that kind of a successful program, with that kind of a schedule. I mean, the schedule we played was amazing.
Yeah.
Pitt, Penn State, et cetera, Boston College.
Yeah. Flashback memory here. Knowing what you do now, who would have been the best judge on the team that was a coaching staff member? Do you think Kurlav would have been a good judge?
Kurlav would be the bailiff.
That's a good question.
Kurlavich would be the bailiff, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say there may be some jobs for Coach Kurlavich in the courthouse, the bailiff or court security or something like that. I don't think Judge Kurlavich would have nearly as much patience as Judge White had with divorcing couples or complaining defendants, etc.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that, actually.
yeah, probably a solid point.
Yeah.
Probably a solid point. Coach Nealon might have been
I
a
was
good
just gonna
judge.
say,
I think
Coach Nealon would have done that. All right.
Probably would have been a pretty good judge.
No.
What do you think?
No.
What do you think?
Why you saying
Hop?
no,
Why you
Hop?
say no?
Because I think Neil would say, I know what the law says, but I tell you what we're going to do.
Yeah, you might have a solid point there. Kevin, you mentioned that your son plays college football or is playing college football at this point. What's it like?
Yes, he finished his freshman year.
Okay, where's he playing?
He's playing at Claremont McKenna in Southern California. There.
Okay, good. What's that like for you to see, right, your son play collegiately?
I'm always the coach, always the player. So usually we end up having discussions afterwards about, who did this and why did you do that and that kind of stuff. But obviously, you live to some extent, for better or for worse, through your kids.
Yeah.
And to be able to continue my football experience through his experience. And I have to add this because, while this may not seem as significant to you as it does to me, this is a big deal in Kevin White's life. My son, Kevin Jr., went to my old high school. And as I said before, my old high school struggled when I was there. And in fact, they struggled for 50 years. But miraculously, his senior year, they won the state championship in very dramatic fashion.
Wow.
And he was an integral part of that. And it was just, you talk about the experience at Boston College and Penn State, obviously fantastic, but that's right up there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Hey, you're getting ready to retire from the bench, so maybe you're more free to speak than you would be another time. But I did do some research. I know, all this election stuff that's happened in Arizona, I know you've handled some of those cases. I don't think you've had Kerry Lake's cases in particular, but been related cases. But just generally speaking, you don't have to speak to a specific case. What's it been like there judicially with all the controversy over the last couple of years? And a lot of these things have ended up in court there.
It's a challenge. There's a very, very short time frame for those cases to be heard and decided. So it's very intense and happens very quickly. And obviously, depending on the nature of the case, tends to get quite a bit of publicity. So it's challenging. It's challenging.
He's very careful, Judge.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, you mentioned that one of the new pieces of the next chapter that you're going to go into is working with higher risk kids. Can you kind of a little bit elaborate on that passion? Is that something that has bloomed within you because of everything that you've seen through the years come in front of you, that you said, I've got to do something more here?
Absolutely. And growing up in Casa Grande, which is still a pretty tough community, and I have lots of good friends who made bad choices. Some turned their lives around, some didn't. And then as a coach there, I coached at Casa Grande High School for 5 years. I experienced same kind of thing. And then as a judge, my favorite rotation, you move from assignment to assignment. My favorite rotation was working with juvenile delinquency and juvenile dependency. Dependency would be foster kids. And just to hear their stories and to see their needs and to realize that they need advocates out there in the community, in the schools, to help them overcome some genuine adversity that I never had to experience, and I think most people never had to experience. And how to get on the right path if they've gone in the wrong direction. That's right down my alley. I just have great passion for it, and I think that this job, if I'm fortunate enough to get it, will allow me to continue to do that, not from the bench, but behind the scenes, working with those kids, hopefully on the front end to keep them out of court to get them into their graduation gowns and graduating so that they can move on.
Kevin, in West Virginia, we have the foster care system is really strained. A lot of it is linked to obviously problems with the family, the opioid crisis, fentanyl, et cetera. Are you seeing the same kinds of things there? You talk about interest in foster care. Is the foster care system bulging there too?
Tony, this is an issue near and dear to my heart. It is stretched. Just that there aren't enough resources to meet the needs. And it is so frustrating to see, by necessity, I would argue, corners being cut. In my view, based on my experience, I believe that everybody has an interest in making sure that kids have a home where they can go and feel safe and not be neglected or abused, that they can be provided with services that they need, that the family can be provided with services to try and reunify a family when it's appropriate, that courts can act reasonably promptly to make sure to transition to a different plan for permanency for kids when return to the family is not going to be viable. It is, throughout my career, I believe it has been underfunded, and I believe it's particularly acute now in the follow-up to perhaps COVID as tentacles have even stretched into that. But our foster care workers, man, they're asked to do too much with too little. Mm-hmm. And we just need to make a decision that our kids matter to us, and we need to step up to the plate for them and provide them with the services that they need to be reasonably successful and to be safe and free from neglect.
Follow up to that then, because you've seen so much of it, and there is no magic fix. How would you go about? What do you think the biggest thing that needs to be done to try to get a handle on this would be? How do you fix it?
Oh my, it's a big problem with many angles to it. I think one of the big deficiencies is just the available manpower in the foster care system, Department of Child Safety in Arizona, that they need additional workers to be able to handle all of the cases. And then we need to have more mental health treatment, both for minors and for the parents. Mm-hmm. And substance abuse treatment, it needs to be viable and available. And it's just across the gamut. I think it's just across the board underfunded, given the gravity of the issue. I just think one of the measures of greatness of the country is how we take care of our young, vulnerable kids, and I think we can do better.
Yeah, and that's the thing of it. The kids are victims as absolutely no fault of their own. They're born into it, and they've got no chance. Oftentimes, that's what hurts.
And I would argue that those who are concerned about fiscal issues, the way I see it, having worked all sides here from juvenile delinquency to dependency to criminal, you can pay now or you can pay later. Because if these kids don't get the supports and services that they need and get on the right track and get the mental health treatment and the substance abuse treatment that they need, we're going to be dealing with them in a very expensive criminal system and a very expensive welfare system. So pay now or pay later. I say.
Hey, you did ask for equal time to answer to the losses to Virginia and Rutgers and Temple, so we do want to give you that opportunity.
I just want to point out, well, we lost to Virginia was 8-3 team.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, they were.
But that Temple team, I want you to know, they had a guy that was runner-up for Heisman Trophy, Paul Palmer at running back, and then they had a coach by the name of Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
So that was a little more formidable Temple team than maybe some.
Fair point.
And as you know, Kevin, they missed the field goal we would have won the game, but someone jumped offside, statute of limitations. I'm not going to mention his name. Otherwise, and they get a re-kick. That's how they beat West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I talk about the ups and downs of that season, that was one of the real downs.
Yeah. And and I look back at that and you talk about Coach Nealon having to deal with that. So you guys did sputter at the end, but in that month and back in that day, it truly was a month that you had to get ready, not like nowadays.
Longer. Yeah. November 17th.
Was it 6 weeks?
Was the final game in
December 31st. Yeah, so 6 weeks. So that's hard to do from a coaching staff, as you well know, Kevin, back in the day when it was called the facilities building. You guys could be moping around there for 6 weeks. After having those huge wins, you guys go, we're done. And instead, you shot it the other way. That's, to me, a testament to a good team.
And TCU was the favorite in that game.
Yeah.
And a well-coached team, too, to manage those circumstances you're talking about. I think some teams struggle in a postseason setting, the bowl games, because of that delay. And my thought has always been that some staffs handle that better than others. I always thought Coach Nealon and staff did a great job managing us during that time. And it is a difficult time. You're dealing with finals, you're dealing with holidays, you're dealing with weather.
Yeah. Yeah, there was certainly no indoor practice facility at that time to get ready for the bowl game. You were
right
outside. Hey, I just had another thought that kind of circled through, and we'll let you go with this because you got to go do your real job pretty soon. How about this little? And I don't know how you follow this at all, or if not follow it. Little bit of a bubble of potential Pac-12 movement. We're hearing maybe Arizona. We're hearing a little Colorado. I mean, that you got to look at that and go, man, that would be so weird to see West Virginia like coming in here at some point.
I heard about that in the thought that I could go watch West Virginia in a conference game. It was good news to me. Very, very good news to me. I'll believe it when I see it. I just don't see how the travel costs, particularly outside football, makes sense. But all things are possible, and I'd welcome it for very selfish reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, one more philosophy question before we let you go. With your flag football team, are you going old school Nealon back in your area, play some defense, field position, or late Don Nealon with the Mark Bolger teams where you air it out and throw it and try and put points up? How will you coach your team philosophy-wise?
Yeah, we want to know.
So I don't. You can't share this with any of my opponents, but.
Spoken like a coach already, right?
Exactly.
Just exactly like a coach already.
You're going to hear some more coachism here too. Depends on the talent. If I got a girl who can stretch the field vertically, we're going to throw the ball.
There you go. That's just like Coach Nealon. That's what Coach Nealon did his whole career. That's why he was so great.
If we can't stretch it vertically, we're gonna run some variation of the option, the RPO. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're just going to line up.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Fit the system, fit the talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well done.
Well, listen, Kevin, we really, truly do appreciate your time. It's a fun walk back in time. We wish you the very best going forward in this new chapter, and we wish you the very best, and hopefully we'll run into each other in the not-too-distant future.
Well, thank you so much for remembering an old mountaineer out here in the desert. It's much appreciated.
Iconic mountaineer.
Iconic.
Just remember, iconic.
I want emphasize that. I'm going to tell my son.
You should.
I'm going to let him know that. And the last story I'll tell you, he watched one of my games, and it was not a good one. And he gingerly pointed out that I wasn't that good.
That's not true. That's not true. Put in the bowl game tape.
Hey, dude.
Right. I'd watched the dang Bluebonnet Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
You made plays.
The real me.
You made plays, right? It's the synchronicity of 11 guys, and you were the orchestra leader. You made plays. Yeah. That's it.
Or, as Sports Illustrated said after the Boston College game, he doesn't do anything well but win.
Hey, that's what people remember.
Take that.
That's all that matters. Thanks, Kevin, so much. Take care.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, guys.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
There he is, Kevin White.
That
was fun.
That was fun. And I've been around so long. I mean, I remember him. I remember interviewing him. I was at that game, and that was an interesting year.
Super interesting year.
Because you're coming off the Hostetler years, right? and Kevin had been around Brad but hadn't started. And you start out, and look at the schedule. Okay, they beat Ohio University, which is, by the way, the way you should open.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Then they play Louisville at home, and they beat Louisville.
Laidwood there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Laidwood 30-6. Then you got to go to Virginia Tech. And how was that game? That's always tough, right?
Tough one. Yeah.
Always tough. You go to Virginia Tech, you win 14-7. Maryland, always tough. That was those good Maryland teams. And you lose at home 20-17. So the stretch, you talked about, Tony, Maryland, at Pitt, Syracuse, good Syracuse teams, Boston College with Doug Flutie, Penn State, a good Virginia team. That is as tough a stretch, Brad, as you will play.
It really is. I mean, you could start that with Tech. At Virginia Tech,
Yes.
Maryland, Pitt, Syracuse, BC, Penn State. No wonder there was a little bit of a dip. That would have been a flat spot. We would have been saying flat spot against Virginia coming off that stretch. But, Tony, you made the great point during the interview. To bounce back after 3 straight losses, 1 to Rutgers, and that was a better Temple team than what's probably in your mind when we say Temple. But to be able to bounce back and get that good TCU team, that's an impressive job.
And how about, the Boston College win, and again, this goes back years, but the win over Boston College, one of the great wins of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time, right? At Milan Puskar Stadium, beating Doug Flutie 21-20. And
Top 5 BC team.
Yeah, exactly. And then talk about flat spot. But then Penn State, and you beat Penn State was almost an afterthought because BC was such a big game.
Yes.
And then you beat Penn State for the first time in 100 years.
Yes. So that you mentioned that Virginia Tech game that year, 14-7. I remember that game.
Oh, do you?
So I remember the season. That was my first season here, was that season. So to me, they seem to be more memorable. Well, beat Tech at Tech 14-7, halfback option pass.
Really?
John Gay to Rob Bennett. Hoppy, I was sitting in the I was sitting in the talk show producing area where automation is in the group.
Yeah.
On this little teeny TV, and like yesterday, I was sitting there and I watched John Gay went to the right side, threw the ball to Rob Bennett.
Jeez.
That was a halfback option pass. Beat Tech 14-7, lined up and beat them.
The old gunslinger Don
The
Neal.
old gunslinger, little trickeration.
But in White, because after Hostetler and White, Brad, unlike some other great quarterback, only 1 year, just 1 year, but had those iconic wins and that bowl win, which stood as the last bowl win for how long?
Well, yeah.
Until down the Music City Bowl.
Right. And because of that drought, that Bluebonnet Bowl gets talked about a lot,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've certainly wasn't here for that, but knew all about that Bluebonnet Bowl because of the discussion, because you went so long without a bowl win.
It was Jim Wacker and TCU, and they were going to beat West Virginia. West Virginia laid wood.
And you know who was on that 84 TCU team in addition to Kenneth Davis? John Denton, who's the color analyst for TCU.
Really?
Yeah, he was the kicker. Oh. He was the kicker on that team, and we always talk about that game.
They came out, and again, you got to question your memory sometimes. I think they came out very early, like he hit Willie Drury over the middle, and I think he's still running. Just like hit Drury, and you know how fast Drury was, just like took off, like, oh, here we go. Here we go. That was a fun game.
3 guys before the game, brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, currently offering you $10,000 off the Forest River the Forest River Travel Trailer and Toy Hauler. I said
what?
$10,000 off. And the Forest River Travel Trailers are in the world of travel trailers known for their unbelievable quality and reliability. Now, this particular one, the Wildwood FX. Easy peasy.
What is going on over there?
Wildwood FX. Wow, I got dyslexia. Wildwood FSX Max. That's hard when the S and the X are next to each other, isn't it?
Just
FSX?
say the Wildwood. Do you have to say that? Do you have to say all the other?
I think people that are into this world, they want to know, now, which one is it? Is it the FSX Max?
Or is
And you're confirming that it is.
It is the FSX Max. And when I say that, I almost have to go in this way because it's easier if you say FSX Max, the 265 R2K, 13 feet of cargo space, enough to sleep 4, raised rear ramp patio deck.
Big deal there.
Those are nice. Whole lot of fun. You can pack up quad bikes, take the kayaks to the lake, fully equipped kitchen, full bath with shower, including a skylight. Enough headroom to make it easy to get cleaned up. And plus, if someone's going to be waiting inside, you can go outside. They got a hot and cold shower on the outside as well. Private front bedroom, and also comfortable sleeping for 2 more on the 30 by 72-inch sleeper sofas. Once again, $10,000 off. Check it out at BurdettCamping.com. Tell them 3 guys sent you. Three Guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems. So far away from just a local copier guy, they take care of your business equipment needs, your business data, IT, security, even your phone system. Saw some sneaky stuff data-wise. You see that story?
What?
It was a TikTok thing where the Chinese government was infiltrating some American military things in case of the Taiwan protection. They went after them and they found out all this kind of, yeah.
Jeez.
Now, I don't think Comax will take care of that for you, but if you're a business owner, they will make your data safe and secure. And they'll come in and give you a free price quote on how they can do that. Remote IT services available, plus digital phone lines for your business from 1 to 1,000 lines. Getting a lot of really good reactions to our episode a couple episodes ago with John Spiker. We'll get into that. You know how we're going to get into that?
How?
We're going to get into that with a little textual healing. Hit it. Ready to go? Ready to do this thing?
Hit it.
Wayne from Fredericksburg, the John Spiker episode, one of the top 5 ever.
How about that?
Got me thinking about the best player ever to play at Mountaineer Field, home or away.
Oh.
Best ever. Who do you each believe is the top player to ever play at Mountaineer Field? Is it possible to compile an offensive and defensive all-time player team?
It would blow you away if we did that, because we could.
Many.
We've had summer Sportsline episodes where we've done that and taken hundreds of texts with people throwing names. You're like, oh yeah, that's a good. That's impossible. But Flutie's right on there.
Michael Irvin.
Well, those Miami teams.
Yeah, like the Miami team.
Look at the
Vinny Testaverde.
Think of the quarterback. Think about the
James
quarterbacks that have come through here.
Yeah.
Boomer Esiason,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think that'd be an awesome.
That's a good idea.
We do it every summer. I mean, we should bring that back.
Well, maybe we could get our producer, Tyquan Kennedy, back in there, and maybe he can start to effort that.
Will he know how to go back pre-2010? Or is it just start from 10?
You think he's got recency bias?
Well,
is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
Well, Jumpin' Jack's here.
players.
Jumpin' Jack's here now too. Maybe he could help him.
I know, but Jack's even younger. Jack might go from 2018 on.
Yeah, that's true.
Was anybody here before?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I feel bad when I talk about some of these old games, but I mean that Bluebonnet Bowl. This is age. A Bluebonnet Bowl is, and the circumstances are clearer to me than 80% of the games West Virginia played last year. Why is that?
That's a wonderful question, and you're not alone. Why is that?
I don't age.
You know, when you mentioned those defensive players to Kevin,
Yeah.
like every single one of those personality type wise,
You remember,
were
right?
dogs.
You mean that
D-A-
in a nice way?
DAWG.
Yeah.
That was like they were all just nasty dogs.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we lack now. Like you say, like Whitey Daniels, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, he would put you to sleep.
Yeah.
All those guys would put you to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what I think why we remember them, because that was classic. Just
Well, remember the big play in the BC game. They got Flutie. Was Matt Smith
and Freddie Smalls.
Both
Both took turns of getting them late in the second half.
Afterward, Freddie Smalls had the great quote.
My
Freddie's-
4.40 speed.
No, it said 4.40 speed. I got to Doug Flutie. He said, but he gets my vote for the Heisman. No offense, Freddie, you don't have a vote, but we get it. We get what you're saying.
Well, I need to get off here because now I'm down the rabbit hole of looking at old rosters. But Kevin mentioned that Paul Palmer. I mean, that's a guy that probably doesn't come up originally. He finished, second in the Heisman that year?
Yeah, he was a player.
That's pretty good. That counts.
Yeah, and Bruce Arians as the coach.
Yeah, that would be fun to do.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Texter, hey, three guys, I'd like to thank you for your years of podcast service. You've always said that you'll never make it to episode 800. I'd say there's a good chance that you're right about that, since you just offered beer to a minor on episode 463.
What?
J.J. Weatherholt doesn't turn 21 until September the 10th.
Oh.
P.S.
Huh.
With Hoppy's advanced age and inability to stay upright, it may be time to move away from endorsing alcohol.
With all due respect.
There's a lot of merchandise out there that no one is tapping into. How about a Hoppy's Ass Over Tea Kettle t-shirt? Love the show, Pete and Pennsboro.
Efforting. Thank you, Pete. Efforting.
Efforting?
I mean, maybe not that particular shirt, but he said there's a lot of merch out there. We're efforting.
Oh, okay.
You on a motorized scooter, a silhouette might be one of them.
Three guys scooter.
That scooter I got has been a godsend in the workplace.
So
I have been told people love it when you go through the halls and ring your bell at them to get out of the way. I've heard that's been they like that.
It doesn't get old, I'll tell you that.
No, nobody's talking about that.
It doesn't get old. It is funny.
Oh, wait a minute. You're saying it?
I
Should
like
stop doing it?
No, I like it. No, hell no. That's good. I like it when you do it.
You're not going to stop.
Makes me chortle.
I say good morning to people. Like I ride
All right,
by.
I got a commentary to write. Ding, ding, ding. Get out of my way.
I got to go around on two wheels.
I like that bus driver coming back from Charlotte that year.
Oh.
We were close to two wheels. Texter. JJ was unbelievably good.
For each new text.
JJ was unbelievably good. I'm not dialed into baseball, so I can't.
Can't say they're super interested.
So I can't say it. We'll make the text for you to kind of say what you wanted to say.
Exactly.
So I can't say that I was super interested, but I could have listened to him for another hour. What an outstanding kid. Yes, he is.
Agree.
Texter. I'm a longtime Three Guys listener, truly enjoying the summer series. Recently, several interesting items have come to light. Not surprisingly, John Spiker remains one of the truly good people in our world. I attended my first WVU football and basketball games more than 50 years ago. I thoroughly enjoyed you all bringing up so many pleasant memories. I wasn't an athlete at WVU, but I got to know Spike. He always had a kind word way back then, and he still does today if I'm fortunate enough to run into him when I visit Morgantown. Next, we could all learn a lesson about positivity, perseverance, and professionalism from Gary Jennings. Also, his hard work and primarily beef diet has landed him back in the NFL, hopefully for many seasons. I appreciated Tony starting a discussion with Gary on a topic that he and I have had before, the virtues of sous vide cooking. Yes. Lastly,
That was fun with Spike.
Spike was
You
terrific.
said it appropriately at the start of that episode, just the single person that has a link through all of those years of West Virginia football. And then it goes beyond that because he's at every one of those practices too.
Yeah.
It's not like he just was on state. Every practice for all that time.
Yeah.
He saw some things.
What has he seen?
Saw some things.
Has he seen? Yeah. What's he heard?
Things.
You know, the only one you could probably put him in line with is the late Jim Galuski, who began shooting every single practice and every single game from the Bowden era on.
Wow.
Every single day, eye in the sky. And Jim was unbelievable. And those are the guys, right, that have this institutional knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you come up and go, like, I think that kid's going to be real good. They'll kind of look at you and go, like, you ain't seen nothing yet. Or let me tell you about this guy.
Yeah.
If you think that's good, let me tell you about this guy. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. They happen to be single largest pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia, and they sell the Avalon Pontoon Boat Series. They are considered the best in the U.S., manufactured 100% right here in America. Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Check them out. Great time right now, obviously, whether it's parts, sales, service, they got it. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com, located in St. Albans. J.J. Weatherholt, texter says, is what is right
By
with
the way, good weekend coming up for the pontoon.
Oh, yeah. You guys going out?
I mean, I haven't checked weather, but just the time.
It's fine. It's good.
I mean, it's all
No
set up.
rain.
Is it in the lake?
Oh, it's in the lake. Working on it. Yeah.
Efforting?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Already been efforted. It's there.
It's had every. So is this a Saturday, Sunday, Monday?
Might be.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, Memorial Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Take the kids out, let them jump around.
Mm.
Well done. Good.
Continuing the text, J.J. Weatherholt is what's right with college athletics. Entertaining, extremely talented young man. Quite simply, I'm glad he's a Mountaineer and intends and he intends to remain one. In closing, it took 463 shows to make a Charlie Weaver reference. Also, don't ever doubt that Tony had what it took to take down that boar. We know now that he was attacked. He has attacked an infirm senior citizen with his own scooter, and he previously branded a preteen with a clothes steamer. Thanks for making my drives around our beautiful state even better. Jimmy Smallridge in Charleston. I own land along the Barber and Preston County lines.
Of course you do.
Why wouldn't you?
Thanks, Jim.
Did you ever watch Charlie Weaver on Hollywood Squares?
Sure do.
Just the best.
Yeah.
One of his famous ones was, the question was to Charlie Weaver, you've just planted strawberries. Are you going to get any the first year? He said, no, I'm too busy growing strawberries.
How about the collection of people on Hollywood Squares? You had Charlie Weaver, right?
Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde was the classic.
I mean, he was in the middle, center, right? Center. He was in the center box. Just hilarious dudes.
There was another
and ladies.
There was a Paul Lynde, a famous Paul Lynde joke. He said, what stays pregnant longer, your wife or your elephant? And he said, who told you about my elephant?
Okay, I'm going to do, this is dangerous. I'm going to do this. Why do I think Paul Lynde's got some association to West Virginia?
Really?
They buried him in Ohio. So now he was raised in California. Early life.
I don't know. I've never heard that.
Probably not. I just wanted to include him. No, he was in Illinois. Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. Thought it said something about the Mothman, but actually it was the Moth Club that he was with. No, never mind.
Boy, you went down a rabbit hole there, and there was nothing there.
Strike that from the record.
Nothing there.
Well,
nope. Dry well.
Wait a second.
Dry hole.
It said. Wait a second. No, it said that Lynde once flew.
I brought up a couple things and actually had something.
No, it says Lynde once flew from New York City to Los Angeles, and along the way flew over West Virginia. So I knew I had something there.
Nothing.
Double dig.
I'm gonna miss this when I might keep it.
You're not gonna miss it.
When I get my
now,
foot
you might
healed.
get a boot. You might get a boot today, right?
I'm going today.
You might get a boot.
Might. See how it goes. Hope it's healing.
A boot.
Nothing.
Boot.
Nothing.
About a boot.
All right.
So if you were Canadian when you went to the doctor today, you'd say, "Hey, I'm here to talk to you about a boot."
Got a boot.
Fellows, Stephen Eleanor, John Spiker episode was great. Would have loved a two-parter like Kerlap, or maybe he can be a third Mike when Hoppy is hiking the Appalachian Trail or bumbling, stumbling, fumbling around Monticello. Monticello. Yeah.
True.
Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling.
Yep. Fell down.
Texter,
Old guy fell down.
Vince in Vegas, I certainly hope you are still efforting to get a gambling podcast going again. Some of us degenerates really miss you. Sincerely, Vince in Vegas.
Thank you, Vince. Working, efforting.
Texter.
Hey, Brad, while we're on that, Brad, Celtics.
Tonight, as we're recording, I don't know, because by the time people get this, maybe over. Listen, they showed some life. I'm glad for Joe Mazzulla's sake that they bounced back and gave some great effort for him in Game 4, got a win, extended the series. The home games have been a bad spot for them. Big favorites at home. You would think that's the ideal spot. It has not been for the Celtics. So we'll have to see. Miami dealing with some injuries to their rotation guys. Got to get another one tonight. Push that thing to 6.
Would you? What's the line? Do you know?
They're a $3 favorite. So it was 8 or 9 as we went to record this.
Okay. Would you take them tonight?
Laying that many with them, this is one of those where that very well could win, and certainly hope it does win, but that would be a hard one to justify, wouldn't it? Yeah. When they're so bad in this spot. I'm rooting for them to win tonight, though.
Sure,
so absolutely. I'd probably end up on that side.
I mean, I really want the Celtics and the Lakers, didn't you?
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
That would have been a great storyline.
Yeah.
Joker's fun to watch play, though.
Oh, Joker's he's really, really done. I mean, to see a guy like that to do the things he does,
it's awesome.
It's incredible.
It's awesome.
I mean, to get like triple doubles. I mean, and he
nonchalant triple doubles. Like
Yeah.
he does. Like it's like he doesn't
routine
work.
triple doubles.
Isn't it beautiful how he passes?
Yes.
Great passer.
Yeah.
He's just a wonderful passer. As you can see from the front of our table, for those of you that are watching, we've been inundated by the great folks at Go-Mart with Reese's products. And including right here, we have the Go-Mart Gopher, which is made an appearance. And so that reminds us that when you go for good times, you go for Go-Mart. And right now, the month of May, Reese's celebrated. Reese's came to existence in 1920 and 8. Top-selling candies, and Go-Mart has products for you, enough as you could see. I mean, every different kind of Reese's. So if you don't have the Go-Mart app already, do download it today. Go to gomart.com/3guys. That's gomart.com/3guys. And I'm glad they're out of my office because I opened up those little minis, and I've been hitting those each.
Glad you got some.
All right, are we done? Did we get the shot? I'm going in.
Wow,
I
going
was
in.
trying to leave it.
Tony, you gave me those pieces, and the hardest thing I do is after lunch every day is just put out a portion.
Oh, yeah, you're a portion guy.
You are
hard.
Very this brittle here.
What is that?
Little Reese's Pieces, brownie brittle.
Oh, you're going to kill that.
I mean, you know me. I usually go straight for the cups.
Can't get it open.
Efforting. All right, move on.
Last one.
Last text.
Oh, by the way, yeah, last one. Congratulations, by the way. See, the new batch of Kirchevale was canned
Saw that.
this week and is now out.
Look at Brad. Look at Brad. He can't.
You
get
struggling there,
this
Skippy?
I mean,
you need some help. What do you got?
Can Mom help?
that Kirchvale's out now, right? They're taking it out, delivering today.
Yeah, it's been the last couple of days.
That was good.
All right, so go ahead, give us an instant review on that. Pretty good. You ever had those before? Or is that the first time you've efforted in those?
First time. Excuse me, talking with my mouth full.
Hey, Hop. What? Stupid Bell. Stupid Bell.
Brad, he's going to have trouble.
Make him choke. That's what I like. Once he gets going, I just like to make him completely just go down and choke. My greatest joy in life will be to have him spit something out. That would be my greatest thing ever. Ever.
I got a sweat coming.
Those are good.
What now, Tony?
So how about this deal?
Yeah.
Speaking of your beer,
Got some pretzels over here, too.
next episode we'll talk the details on this.
Yeah.
But down in Greenbrier County, there's these folks called Mountain Table coffee brewers. They sent me 2 sample bags. Arrived yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Nadine there. And they took beans and soaked them in Kirchevale for 24 hours.
Really?
And then roasted them after soaking them in the Kirchevale.
Interesting.
So on our next episode,
Get high on coffee?
the next
You
one,
gonna bring some in?
yeah, I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
make.
make
I'll
it.
make the coffee, and we'll bring it in and we'll sample it.
Do those things mix?
Smelled great.
Yeah. So when I went there, I went to
I
Mountain
guess
Table.
so. I mean, hops.
I went to Mountain Table, and I've tasted ones that were done in bourbon. They soak them
Yeah.
in bourbon,
Yeah.
and it gives it a unique, different flavor.
Okay.
It gives a different taste profile.
So you'll brew those at home and bring it in?
Mm-hmm.
Some for all of us.
Will you drink it?
Yeah, I'll drink it.
Okay, cool. I mean, you'll drink coffee.
I'll drink it straight. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just sample. Just get a taste. They were interesting tasting. Interesting tasting. All right. By the way, I know you don't listen to Sportsline, but we had a fun conversation last night with John Beeline.
Oh. He's, what's he up to?
Detroit, he heads up Detroit Pistons player development. So he's got 4 dudes, right? He's got 4 guys that he oversees that do player development for the Pistons organization.
They need some player development.
Yeah,
They need some help.
they do. And he's here coming in this weekend to work a clinic with former Mountaineer J.D. Collins.
Really?
So it's kind of a pro combine for guys that are draft eligible. Pro eligible guys
That are like overseas type guys, maybe some G League type guys, not necessarily NBA types, but
Okay.
there's
The
a
guys-
whole world of
yeah.
professional basketball
Sure,
there, right? So
sure.
they're going to run a combine here, scouting session.
So
Beeline's the best.
I had a thought, Senator, this morning.
Yeah.
One popped in my head. He said something last night that stands out that probably needs to be brought up again. And what he said was, now you got to remember, he was here, so he was at a bunch of stops.
Lemoyne.
No, Erie County Community College, Nazareth, Lemoyne, Canisius, Richmond, West Virginia, Michigan, 2 Final Fours. Seen a ton of players, right?
Yes.
Now he's in the NBA. Coached in the NBA, now he's in the NBA.
Right.
Said Kevin Pittsnogle,
Listen.
best big shooter ever.
Excuse me?
He said
Ever.
best big shooter ever. He's not a guy that just
No.
makes grandiose statements.
Really?
Yes, he did. He said, I've never seen a better big shooter than him.
6'10" and above.
6'10" and
What
above.
was the qualification? 6'10" and above, best shooting big man he's seen.
Huh.
Ever.
Then you should have made it in the show, right?
The show was
Not
different.
ready for him, and that's part of how we
Maybe
got.
he was too early.
Yes,
So-
you're exactly right.
we got into that conversation. I talked to John about that because his offense was kind of what you're seeing now, but back then the 5 out, everybody can shoot. There's motion, right? Get bigs that are shooting. And he said they were just in a development session with the Pistons coaching staff, and a set came up with the 5 out, and somebody said to him, "Well, you've been running that for 20 years." He said, well, "Yeah." So yeah, Kevin came along a little bit
early.
Yeah, a little bit early there.
Huh. How about that?
It is kind of amazing when you think about it. So we talked with Kevin White earlier, and he said, yeah, the game's going back to what it was, right? We went spread, and now people are tightening up, and tight ends are coming back into games, and fullbacks are coming into games, right? So John, when he was at Lemoyne, you may have heard this story, didn't have a point guard. He's younger back then. His uncle was the AD at Lemoyne.
Okay.
And he goes to his uncle and goes like, I got no shot. He says, I got no shot here. We don't have a point guard. We don't have a point guard. We got no opportunity whatsoever to win. His uncle said, okay. So what do you think? We're not going to play this season? You're going to quit? What do you want? Which way you want to do this? And he said, if you don't have one point guard, he said, play 2 guards out front at the same time. The 2-guard front. So he goes 2-guard front, which began his whole deal. 2-guard front, runs this offensive sets. He borrowed European concepts long before they came over here. That's why what West Virginia was doing in the early 2000s was all of that you're now seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you imagine how much aggravation he caused opposing coaches?
Oh, they drove
God,
him crazy.
Jeez.
That offense, then the 1-3-1.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You remember? I mean, he to show you that he was ahead of his time, right? So LSU, more talent. LSU had talent. They had Glenn Baby Davis. He goes on and play in the NBA, right? And that Oklahoma team that we absolutely dissected in Oklahoma City when Kelvin Sampson was a coach. Didn't know whether to wind their watch or comb their hair, and just cut them up because they were doing things that nowadays people would be more ready to adjust to, but couldn't understand what was going on there, bringing everything outside. That's the NBA. Celtics, they live behind that 3-point. It's either a dunk or a 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Which is basketball now. That's what it
What
is.
how many? They shot 40.
Yeah, 42. I think. They made
42?
19 the other night. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Game 4? Yeah,
Yeah.
they made 19 of them. Which I said on Sportsline, Joe's catching all this heat. I said, that's a wonderful coaching job. He just said to him, go out and make 19 threes, and we're good.
Yeah. All good.
So he just does that tonight. They win again.
They win again, so they're home tonight. Then that puts the pressure on Miami.
Go
They got
back
to
to Miami. Yeah.
They got to be feeling a little tight then.
Today
go
would
back
be
to
good.
Miami.
Go get game 5.
Go get this game, and then Miami is going to be a little bit tight, and then you come back to Boston. But as you said, Brad, they haven't been great at home.
They have not.
So
Keep it going.
Hope it's a conversation that we can have. Music's on. Got a chance at a guest coming up in our next episode that we haven't heard from in like forever, but I think that you'll want to hear from him.
wow, that's a tease there.
And hopefully Hoppy gets a boot so we don't have to listen to his bail.
I don't know. I kind of like the bell.
How about that? A listener sent that to him. Remember, last time he came in
for
here,
real?
he had,
Yes.
had a Lowe's bag on his foot.
You guys get, send food and candy and stuff like that. And on Talk Line, I get like rocks and feces and stuff sent to me. But a listener sent me this from Huntington. They have a business, Darco, D-A-R-C-O. It's this boot if you got an injured foot. And they are in Huntington, and they distribute around the world.
That's the same thing. Hey, that's the same thing. Tom Dempsey used to wear that same thing. Here's a 63-yard field goal attempt for Tom Dempsey.
It's helped.
Sure.
good.
Well,
That
we
was
hope
awful
you get
nice.
we hope you get a boot.
Hope so too. I kind of hate to give this up though.
I bet you don't.
Keep the bell.
Three guys before the game, brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever dealer in the state of West Virginia when it comes to your camping supplies. BurdettCamping.com.
I'm thinking about going to the Kroger and get one of those carts, those motorized carts.
That'd be
Uh,
good.
it's-
That'd be good for
you got limited life on that. I would go ahead and get one in before you're ineligible.
You know, the last couple nights, that elevated patio they have on their vehicle would have been nice.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Temperature 0, is that what you call it?
Yeah. Temperature. We walk out at night after the show.
Yeah.
Like if we walk out, like it happens like 4 times a year. We'll walk out. It's about after 7 o'clock, and it's like the temperature is like perfect. We say this is temperature 0.
Oh, I get
Like
it.
No
you could-
humidity, no wind,
You could
no
just-
moisture.
if you
just
could just have temperature 0.
Temperatures.
It'd be perfect. That might be a T-shirt. Three guys brought to
I
us
like
by
it.
Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. Lou Wendell Marine Sales, St. Albans, they sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Get yourself pontoon and more.
Get yourself some.
And by Gomart. Visit Gomart.com and sign up for their rewards card. Save money on food and gas. Gomart.com/3guys.
going back in.
Back in.
We're out. Thanks to our producer, Tyler Taylor Kennedy, Jumpin' Jack Carlson, back again at some point. Three guys before the game over and out.